Yes. Yes, can you hear us? Hello?
I can hear you now.
I can hear you now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can you give us yay or nay for the agenda?
Counselor Katie McMillan, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
The motion was to approve the agenda. Is your vote yay or nay?
Oh, sorry. Yay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yes, I would move forward now to the city manager's report. We have the Umatilla City Chamber of Commerce annual report presentation.
Good evening, council and staff. I just wanted to start off by saying that thank you to the city staff and council for all the support they've provided the Umatilla Chamber in the past year in 2024. We've had a lot of great events and we're excited and honored to be a part and partner with in the community with the events the city had as well. I'll just go over some highlights in here since there is several different things, but instead of just taking so much time to go line by line, you'll have the opportunity to look at it. But just going through here, as the past couple of years, I decided to put both goals and objectives from the years in there in 2023 and 2024, just because of since I started as a director, it's been getting reconnected with the community, building the chamber up more. So you can have that for reference. But it's really been getting connected with our local businesses and continuing to increase the chamber membership, grow the membership, because when the network is bigger, then we're able to form and help more businesses. And as you can see in the 2023 goal, we were able to achieve a lot of those by the next year. We have the new website up, has all the updated payment systems, the online processing and all that you would think would be something we already have in that time, but we were still going old school a lot of the way. But now it's up to date and going forward, we're in the past year, we've had 18 new members. I noticed when I was I noticed I missed a mistake there that 57 should be 65. That didn't get changed from the final, so the 18 new members is the correct number. So in 2024, we had 83 members. That's exciting to see that growing. And same with our social media. We're still working on growing and getting that out so we can have that news going out to more people and be providing more value to our business members as well. And I also added in a few of the, you'll see some of our top posts from the chamber social media account. The top 3 posts for last year was our ribbon cutting for a greater purpose, eating and cooling, and then a Fish and the Brave and trick or treat. So those events are big. The community likes the events. And you'll also see that our most viewed live video was actually the live stream that I did for our Instagram of the city doing their groundbreaking on the business center. So that was widely viewed far and wide there. And I'll just go over briefly some of the events that we were involved in last year. Or here, I'll touch on this. We've still continued to do our monthly newsletters, updates, and this past year started working in partnership with Jasenia at the city in doing a business spotlight for Umatilla businesses and featuring them not only the chamber newsletter, but also getting them featured in the City View, the quarterly newsletter. So that's been a great partnership that we've been able to be a part of. We had 4, it was our first year of full luncheons, business luncheons. We had 4 of them, quarterly events last year. And as you can see, there was an average attendance of about 15. It went up and down. But I would say for that first year, starting off the business luncheons, that was a pretty good number, especially since there was many people who attended said they were able to make good connections. There was a lot of different referrals that came out of there and good connections. Of course, as you can see, our largest attendance of 33 was when Representative Greg Smith came to speak. So sometimes bringing in the state officials, more people want to hear it. But still good attendance together. we were glad to be a part of 6 different ribbon cuttings this last year with the opening of Man I Love Fade Salon and the Galaxy Apartments in McNary. And also getting to see the new Umatilla Clinic open, as well as Greater Purpose Heating and Cooling. And even partnered with the Hermiston Chamber for the ribbon cutting they had for Boylan Realty up on South Hill in the Ballard subdivision there. Once again, we had a great Distinguished Citizens Award banquet last year in partnership with the Umatilla Police Department and Umatilla School District, with about 70 people attending that dinner, and awards to honor the Business of the Year, who was decided to be Old Nick's Restaurant, and then also our Citizen of the Year, Brandy Garrett. And the school district also presented their Bridge Builder Awards, as the Umatilla Police Department presented some outstanding excellence awards to some of their staff. On that note of the Distinguished Citizens Award banquet, the nominations for this year's Distinguished Citizens Award banquet is open. Just as a reminder, you can submit your nominations for the Business of the Year or Citizen of the Year. You can go to the chamber website. There is also signs and flyers all around. If you go to different businesses on 6th Street, there's signs that we have put up, QR code signs reminding people, hey, nominate for Business of the Year, Citizen of the Year. That is something that the community nominates, and then the selection committee looks at the community nomination. That's how it's chosen. So we're always appreciate when people are involved in that. And this year, in addition to the school district and police department joining us again for the award ceremony, the Umatilla Rural Fire Protection District will also be joining us in presenting some awards. So save the date for Friday, May 16th for this year's. Of course, we also had a information booth at Rock Music Festival, and we're also helped out in unofficially supporting the city and running their Lost and Found booth as well, and helping some of the rec aids they have there. It was great to be a part of that, and as you can see in the picture there, we had a map of the United States that visitors could come by and pin where they were traveling from to attend the festival. And we also passed out 2,800 of the Umatilla visitor guides had information about our businesses, the dining and restaurant and lodging businesses, as well as some of the chamber members that had ads in there as well that we passed out and had available at different businesses as well. We plan to do that again this year and be able to enhance on that. Then trick or treat on 6th Street, 38 businesses participated in the whole event. There was 6 businesses that participated in the business decorating contest, and there was 8 booths there at Village Square Park. And this year we had a pumpkin carving contest, which got 518 votes. So I'd say that's a pretty big community participation. I really enjoyed that. And going on to the next page here, always an honor to be able to participate and partner with our chamber member, Tony Fisher, with Fisher's Catch Outfitters, that he hosts the Fishing the Brave event for an area of veterans each year on Veterans Day weekend. We're glad to be able to help find sponsors and coordinate the events, get the meals and other businesses involved. The city is also always a big help in helping with that event. There was, from the 110 veterans who registered for their event, there was about 87 veterans that actually participated on the day of. over 33 different volunteer captains. They get to go out for a whole day on the river, no charge, guided fishing. It's a wonderful event here in Umatilla, and we're always glad to help out Tony with that event. Then also wrapping up the events, couple events we had in December, the Umatilla Costata and Resource Festival. We had over 16 different community resource partners, so they were information and organization. They had the information tables showing what resources there are for families in the communities, as well as we had a lot of activities for kids. We had some pinatas donated, and there was fun games. We had a live music there as well. And then I thought I had put this in here, but I didn't. So we also was glad to be a part of the Parks and Recs Breakfast with Santa and the Grinch. And a certain person made a appearance as the Grinch alongside Santa. So that was a lot of fun to be a part of. And just to wrap it up, I added in here, it's at print right now. We've been working on this for a while. I know it's been long overdue, but we're excited to see that we are ready. You will soon have a hard copy of the official brand new Umatilla Visitor and Business Guide. And so you've got a council, you have a sneak peek in there. I did a preview of each of the pages. I will mention there will be a slight difference in the formatting. We noticed that it was originally 26 pages, but it has to be in 4-page sections for the printing. And so I worked with Jen at Specs and we adjusted the format. Everything's still the same. You'll just see the printed one will be slightly different format than the preview here in the report. But once again, thank you very much. And was there any questions?
No, looking good.
Well, thank you very much. I know it took up a lot of time. I just quickly wanted to mention also everyone's in this coming Tuesday, March 11th. As a reminder, we're having our chamber luncheon. SRVF with Paid Leave Oregon will be speaking and sharing about some of the updates to that laws for employers that will be at the chamber office this Tuesday at noon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, we have the semi-annual library.
I'll get you a different microphone. That's right, Nancy.
Goals for this year were to expand community outreach, enhance education efforts, and raise awareness of incredible resources that public libraries provide. We achieved these through engaging programs and that connected with all ages. Some of the programs that we had this year were the summer reading program, where we had 196 participants, where collectively we read 1,380 hours, which was, pretty amazing. We had some amazing prizes as well that were donated by the Walmart DC. So the more that people read, the more chances they got to win some prizes. We also partnered with the Umatilla School District for the summer feeding program in collaboration as well with the Parks and Rec Department. It was just important to ensure that families got a meal and also some books and evening activities as well. Our programming extended to all ages, from interactive children's programming to empowering adults through some of our programs at the Mother Support Group. One of them that we had was our self-defense class that was taught by our very own Sergeant Tubby. So that was really exciting, and we're hoping to have that again this coming March. One of my personal favorites was in October. It was firefighter for a day, which again, we collaborated with the Umatilla School District during our annual dance. So the event included a story time where members of the fire department actually got to read a story to the kids, and it was kind of like a bilingual book. The first 20 families that showed up to the event got the book for free as well. Families got to dress up like firefighters and got to explore what it meant to be a hero for a day. We had over 200 participants for that event. Beyond programming, our library remains a vital hub for the community with over 6,600 visitors in just the last 6 months. Our computer and Wi-Fi services were accessed nearly 6,000 times as well, demonstrating our critical role as a community resource. We have also strengthened our collections thanks to grants that allow us to expand our Spanish language materials. This year, I was able to attend the Guadalajara Book Fair in person, so I was able to hand select books. I was able to go with our district director who's here today. She'll be able to present later on here for her. We were able to purchase just under $2,000 in books. We've got a really great collection. We're really excited to showcase this at our next newsletter that you'll be able to see soon. Unfortunately, I do not have any collection data for you to share with you all this time. Our Sage system kind of when it did an update, and so there's been errors to the system. I'll be sure to have those for you all the next time I present. Looking ahead, we have some fun and exciting events coming up. We have our Tinkercad Basics. It's a 3D printing event for teens. We also have trivia night for adults, and we do have a new graphic novel book club as well for teens. We're also having spring break fun at the library. We'll have arts and crafts, board games, as well as daily guided activities at 12 p.m. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to our mayor, our city council, our community partners, and our incredible staff for making this initiative happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susie.
Any questions?
See what the names are.
What was, do you by chance have the numbers? I'm just curious
Yeah.
as to like this past, it sounds like this summer reading was, very well attended. What was it compared to like, do you know, the year before?
I don't have that data for you. I think it's about the same. I think the most that we've had one year was like 360, and that was in collaboration with the school district. So every week we had a class come, and so they all were signed up for the summer reading program. So that's why it was our biggest. But this was sister, so this was just regular teachers coming in.
Okay. Have you tried, like, are you interested in partnering with the schools again with that, or?
Yeah, I think that would be a great program. Maybe this year we can have.
Any further questions from council? Awesome. Thank you guys for.
Thank you. Exciting.
We then have the general announcements. Dave.
Yeah, just a few general announcements. So for those that have youth age recreation enthusiasts, we have our MLS Go Summer Soccer League is now, registration is now open for that. And the league play is June 2nd through August 2nd. We also have our upcoming youth baseball and softball camp coming up later on March 22nd at Nugent Park at 11 o'clock. During spring break, we have camp from the March 24th to the 28th as well. And we have, Esmeralda, you can help me on some of these as well. We have from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the community center. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm registration is open for that as well.
Okay. And then also during spring break, we also have a fishing camp as well. So that's from the 24th to the 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the McNary Ponds. And then back by popular demand, we have our boot scooting. It should say boogie on there. I don't know where the boogie went. But at the bridge, registrations opens for that tomorrow. And that'll be April 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. throughout the day, 21 and plus. We have our Easter egg hunt coming up on April 18th at Nugent Park at 7 p.m. Remember, that's a flashlight kind of thing. Are we not what's that? At the Marina Park, sorry. We outgrew Nugent Park, so we've moved out to the Marina Park. And then we have our community yard sale registration is open now. So as well as our community cleanup event. So the community cleanup event this year is going to be similar, but a little bit different than what we've done before. So now if you have large items or any items that you can't haul yourself on that Saturday, you can go online and you can reserve, essentially reserve a time, and we will come and pick that up for you. You just need to get it to the curb. And so, we can come pick that up, and then that Saturday, you can also bring anything to the public workshops. That's on May 2nd and 3rd. No charge, to haul, those things away. Although if you have hazardous materials like paint and things like that, we can take those, but there is a charge for those on the side. Any other thing else on that? Get everything? All right, there's your quick note.
Yard sale, if you'd like to be put on the map, you can register.
Oh, yeah, you can, register for the yard sale, and we set up a Google map, pinpoint map for that. So when we have that community-wide yard sale, those that want to be on that map, we highly encourage you to do that, because people are just gonna make those rounds according to those pinpoints. So you can register for that online as well. No cost for that either.
Any other questions from council?
So those dates are all on the city website
Yes.
also.
They're all on our city calendar online, yes.
Any questions? Awesome. Moving on. Moving on to our public comment section. Public comment segment allows community members to share their opinions, raise concerns, and provide information to the city council. Comments should be addressed, city-related issues, and must not pertain to items scheduled for a public hearing in the same meeting's agenda. If you wish to speak, please complete the sign-up sheet, including the topic you wish to address. Please begin by stating your name and address and call recording. Speakers are allotted 5 minutes unless otherwise directed. Please note, comments comments criticizing city programs and operations are permitted during the segment. However, criticisms of individual city employees is not allowed during public comment period. Concerns regarding city employees should be submitted in writing to the city's human resource manager for purpose and proper review. Thank you for cooperation. All right. Up first, we have Judy Simmons.
I got my street in the valley. And here is the representative tonight of the Unitown Museum. This is the time of year when we're having our membership drive. We send out the little forms to the current members. And we sent one to the city, we asked Jasenia to share it with the city council members and the mayor. And we're also asking other members of the city to get a copy, and please sign up as members. We need all the support we can get. We're kind of floundering right now. We're not having very good membership meetings, and we need help. And I'd like to invite you all Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning is our monthly meeting. Come and join us, sign up, and give us some help. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you. Next up, we've got Kip Sarah.
Aaron, 457 Stevens Avenue. I'm just something came up this evening, when I was talking to people. Anybody know who the out of service ambulance that says West Med neighborhood is? A lady in orange safety vest is out in the community and taking pictures in front of houses all throughout the neighborhood. Anybody know anything on that?
Keith, do you know anything about them? Or not? Yeah.
Also, was spotted in Morrow County as well. What's your name?
We'll keep a lookout.
Yeah.
Great question.
So,
Thank you.
Next up, we have Heather Estrada.
I thought it was just a sign-in sheet,
Oh.
the cities have one, I think I'm already on.
We got that into the later.
So, Denise Pratt.
Denise Pratt, 148 Rio Senda Street. The main thing I was gonna talk about tonight was, town hall, requesting a town hall. I see that there is a town hall on the agenda tonight, specifically for Rock the Block, is my understanding. So my request is for the city to have another town hall and maybe, have them regularly scheduled so that the community can learn more about what's going on. There are a lot of big projects happening in the city. And I know that everybody's got a lot of questions. And I found out that this is not the place to ask questions. So the next best thing would be a town hall. So that's my request, that you guys consider maybe quarterly town hall. You know, it's asking a lot, because you guys are also volunteering and it takes a lot of time. So I don't know, but if you could give it some consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. Your public comments. Moving on to our consent agenda. Any questions, council, 7.1, the minutes for February 18th.
We, once again, have a doing this correction to make in attendance.
June.
Talk with the, Nancy about it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Those are things you can do.
Yeah, right.
They don't like me, they want to go.
Hard time letting go. All right, other than that being fixed, yeah, the questions on the agenda, or the minutes of this. Okay, looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as a current.
Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Can you second a motion, please?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The ayes have it. Moving on to new business item 8.1, planning commission appointment. I've gone ahead and went through, reviewed everyone, and I have selected Randy Garrett as a new person for the planning commission. You want to add anything? No, okay, all I have. Okay, looking for a motion to approve Randy Garrett to be planning commission.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We approve new business item 8.1 to confirm your appointment of Randy Garrett to the planning commission.
Thank you. Can you get a second to the motion, please?
I'll second.
Give that one to Bruce. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You get faster. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, have it, moving on. And congratulations to Randy Garrett. We're going to 8.2, the Hash Park complex layout.
Yes, so, presented in front of you is a, general concept layout for Hash Park. We just wanted to bring to council to see, what your thoughts were. I believe last time it was brought up to council, we removed the splash pad and the dog park in order to have more recreational facilities fit into that Hash Park, layout. So if this is something, that you guys don't have an issue with, we would move forward and go back to Parks and Rec Committee, come up with the entire, add it to the entire plan, the master plan for Hash Park, and then get a recommendation from the committee and bring it back to city council for adoption.
I'll highlight some of the changes from when you saw this last. Remember the Hash Park draft master plan, you saw that about a year ago now. It's a huge 100+ page document. And then we kind of settled down to this general layout and concept of what was in there. What we heard before, so before there used to be, you might recall, there used to be a community garden here in this park. There also used to be a dog park that was in here. And so the discussions that we had before was, this is really meant to be a sports complex, sports tourism and sports type event. And something like a dog park where you invite, maybe if you had hosted a softball tournament, for example, and all of a sudden there was 500 or 800 people there, doesn't seem like that's a good mixed use of that. Same thing with kind of a community garden. We also talked about at that time the high need and demand for soccer fields. And so the previous version only had one field. You asked us to bring it back to get more, basically as many as we could get. And so what you have here now is an update to the diamond fields, the softball fields, and little league fields and soccer fields. The soccer fields are 2 collegiate and or even meeting NCAA standard full-size fields, and then one youth size field as well. The splash pad was removed, but the playground and pavilion areas stayed. So while brother's playing Little League, his younger brother can be on the playground playing, that kind of thing. Plus, it's just a playground that's there year round. We've had a lot of questions about the length of the softball field. So, one of the questions particularly was, I thought we were doing baseball fields. And so I want to be pretty clear. So this will accommodate Little League baseball, so up to 14 years of age. But once you hit high school level or above that, these fields are too short for that. It's not really designed for that. If we wanted to go to those longer lengths, we could, but you're going to end up losing a field and it would be a redesign. You'd go to 3 fields instead of 4. The other was on the, this is meant for like adult slow pitch co-ed league, recreation softball leagues. And so those typically are going to be between about 275 and 285 feet. Those are the minimum lengths required for those types of fields. You can go to 300 or even 325. And at that length, now you're actually getting into a high school length baseball field if we wanted to do that too. One of the main differences, just baseball, softball, is a mound and an infield. So all softballs flat, dirt infield, no turf on the infield. So and same thing with Little League. So these are all, they can have that mixed use Little League and co-ed adult recreation softball. It would also allow us, if we wanted, one of the goals with the sports complex is for the city to host tournaments, get into sports tourism, and most likely partner with the school district and others to be able to host an invitational tournament or something like that here as well in the future, in addition to adult co-ed softball. So we've tried to work it in here in the space. We've made, I think, pretty good use of all the space that we have in this kind of Idaho-shaped park. And we're able to get it. We've kind of taken advantage of everything that we have in there. So just wanted to see if you had any other follow-up questions.
Yeah, no, I think this is exactly what we talked about. I really like seeing the addition of the increased soccer fields. I think that is massively, I'm very happy to see that there's 2, at least, high school sports sized fields to sit on.
Yeah, appreciate that very much, Mayor. And we've been working on 3rd Street Soccer Field and looking to expand it. And we'll be bringing you an update on that here pretty soon. We're, as you may or may not know, that's a license with the Corps of Engineers. It's in 35 UM1, a historically significant area. And we're just running into a lot, and I mean a lot of sort of roadblocks in the way of being able to expand over that. And so even had some correspondence from staff earlier today with the idea that maybe it's time to sort of pivot those resources that we're looking there and really push it towards this, moving this forward as quickly as we might be able to, and maybe even looking at other alternatives too. But yeah, soccer, last year was the first year we did youth soccer. We had over 350
Over 300.
Yeah, over 300 register in the very first year. We've had flag football for 3 years and we haven't hit that much. And so just the demand for youth soccer in Umatilla is really, really high. So this will hopefully be able to meet a lot of that demand. And not just youth soccer, by the way, these are adult sized fields.
If they, like Sunday meetings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I also like the possibility for like softball rec leagues for adults. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Just getting rid of the splash pad, reduce the cost.
I'm a little upset about the splash pad. but that's
The splash pad is just going somewhere else. We just haven't identified which area of the city or park that will be yet. So, yeah, because the splash pad I think was identified as the 4th most desired amenity in our parks master plan from 2019. So, or from 2020. So, we'll look to relocate that.
It looks like a great design. Really excited about the 2 regulation size soccer fields. I think it's something we've been short as a community for a while, and really looking forward to see what we can do with that.
So, council, if you, yeah.
All fields in our region.
Here, I mean, in our region, it would be.
Yeah.
Princeton.
Yeah. So Irrigan has, is it 2 fields, Nancy, that they host tournaments over there? It's 4 fields. Yeah. So, but they're even smaller than our 275 and 285. One of them is.
That looks amazing.
So council, if you approve a motion on this layout, we'll incorporate this into the master plan. This is again, a concept, so we'll bring this to life with more dimensions and to that fuller level and get that, and then we'll bring back the Hash Park master plan in its entirety, which will include this updated version.
Do you have a funding source for the security? I don't know, we haven't really gotten that far down the line. How much have we put so far into the design?
I'm not sure how much engineering and design costs we're at right now. We've been working on this for a number of years at this point, and so I'd have to go back and look at that, Mayor. We don't have identified funding for construction on this, although we talked about it at your workshop, and we have a meeting with a consultant tomorrow to start looking at the possibility of a urban renewal district, which could certainly fund something like this.
Any other further questions? All right, looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We approve new business item 8.2, the Hash Park layout.
Thank you for your motion. Can we get a second to the motion, please?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
All opposed? Okay, guys, have it, moving on. Moving on to 8.3, resolution 23/2025, resolution authorizing the city manager Stockdale to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the Umatilla County Special Library District for library services.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have Heather Estrada. She's the Executive Director of the Umatilla County Special Library District. She's here. I'd like to have you have an opportunity to say hello, introduce this contract, but anything else you have to do in there before we move on.
Just because most people don't really know what the library district does, and I want you to know what the library district does and how we work with your city, and the other 11 cities. So as Dave said, my name is Heather Estrada. I'm the district director. The district was created in 1986 by a vote of the people, and it's run by a 5-member board and Kathy Stu here. She was at help and spread out across the county. The funding for it is property taxes from everyone in the district, and the entire county is in it except for the incorporated city of Hermiston. They're not in the district actually. And what we do with money is that comes in is we send 80% out straight away, and then with the 20% of the keep, we have 3 staff members. We have me, and I do the taxes and send the money out. I come alongside the directors, Susie, and support them and what they need, and I help make sure that there's a lead to all staff training every year. When the district was formed, and still not all the directors have library degrees. You know, some of them are some of these libraries are super tiny, and they're just, you know, somebody in a little town that can work there, and so we just try to continually keep educating and people up to date. So that's part of what my job is, to kind of vision cast for that. We have Dia, who's our cataloger. She's the cataloging authority for the whole district. She does all the cataloging for the tiny libraries. She consults with Susie, does some cataloging and is learning, and Dia's her mentor, and helps her some of the bigger libraries that want to learn to do that. And then she does all sorts of IT, website help, stuff like that. And then we have one other employee. She is the early literacy outreach coordinator. And when that position was started, it was with the vision to reach every kid in the county, 0 to 5, before kindergarten for the literacy. And so she goes into infant daycares, ESPs, Head Starts, funds over here on this side, and those Head Starts and ESP programs. Brings them book boxes, does story times, and especially people that can't get to the library, although she does go in the libraries and most of them as well. So that's the staff. Additionally, out of the 20% we keep, we pay for the SAGE consortium, which is the shared library catalog with 77 libraries in each program. We know that you're using it. We pay for Leo, which is another consortium. Confusing. That's Libby. If you're using Libby, that's the app that you get audiobooks, ebooks, and we added digital magazines to that this past year, so the district pays for that for the libraries. Because we have so many libraries, we have to courier the books back and forth, trade them, and so, we can have a courier to do that. And then we also administer the Dolly Park Imagination Library, which is also 0 to 5, any kid in Umatilla County that wants to get a free book from Dolly every month can do that. And so if you know kids that are signed up, I'm signed up. It's on Susan's website and it's free for everyone. That's good. Oh, I know. Okay, that's. So the other 80% just goes out in a, to the libraries. Over the years, it's been done in various ways. There's been tier systems, there's been all sorts of things. Before I started, about 5 years ago, just before the pandemic, they started a big project to look at the formula. Like I said, I wasn't around, neither was Kathy, but the idea was to try to make it transparent, and so at least you could track why and who gets the money. Of course, there's a lot of libraries, a lot of sites, not everybody's happy. But it came down to, it has 2 parts. It has a threshold part, which everybody is getting money from except for Hermiston, because they're not in the district. And that was like, because that's the biggest cost. And then the second time is on population. And so then obviously the bigger libraries do get more money because they have more libraries for people. So with that formula, everybody got a bump except for Hermiston. It's not perfect, it's a little bit clunky. We will, look at it through the years, and we're committed to looking at the population every 3 years, which is why we have this, why we're at this stage, it's just as the population. And we'll do that for sure every 3 years. But yeah, so that's how we work. It's always been set up with the agreements with the city. With the agreement that the idea that unfortunately we can't completely finalize rates, we wish we could. We don't have the highest permanent tax rate coming in library in the state, unfortunately. So it's always been a partnership with the cities, and really the cities has traditionally been the building and those types of things that are the city's responsibility, and the library directors are your employees, not ours. And Umatilla does an excellent job of supporting their library, your library, the building, and Susie's. Do you guys have any questions on how this works, how we work together? No, that was really good.
That an app? I'll look at it.
Absolutely. Sage is also an app.
Okay.
Sage and Libby.
Okay.
I always check them both, see where I can get fastest.
Okay.
It's 2 beans or 9 beans? Okay.
It's a little like maroon with a little girl. I think this is Libby.
Any further questions for Kathy?
No. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yes. We're looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve resolution 23-025, item number 8.3.
Thank you for your motion. Need a second to that motion, please.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You guys have, it. Moving on to resolution number 2024. Sorry, number 24, 2025. Ooh, that's tough. A resolution adopting a new employee handbook. Didn't we talk about it last week? Is there anything that's major that's changed since then?
No, not really.
Okay. Have any further questions about it this time? Any other questions?
No,
Okay. Did you already like to present?
I'm just glad we have.
All right, sounds good. But if you want to talk about it, you're welcome to.
We're good.
All right.
Yes, you're in for,
All right. We're looking for motion this time, council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve new business item 8 point, which one are we at? 8.4. Resolution number 24-2025.
Thank you for your motion. Be a second motion, please.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, you guys have it. Moving on to resolution 25 of 2025, resolution authorizing the city manager and police chief to sign a bargaining agreement with the city, the Umatilla, and the Umatilla Police Sergeants Association.
All right, so we presented this to you, I believe, is your last meeting, and we have it here for your final approval. The only update really from last time was just the change in longevity. We mentioned on that section that was in there before. So we reduced that some, and the bargaining unit was in favor of that. So other than that, there were no other changes from what we discussed before, and we're ready to present it to you if you're, or can answer any other questions you might have.
And just to clarify, that change in longevity was to reduce the gap that's allowed for officers if they were to come back, not reducing the incentive for longevity or anything like that.
Yeah, the idea there was before, sometimes, so we compete with our neighbors, right? Both OSP, Hermiston and others, and the grass sometimes looks quite green on the other side. Sometimes they go and they realize it's not as green as they thought, and so they want to come back. And so if they come back timely, then they can keep their, it counts towards their longevity. Before, the previous version had 6 years in between when you left and when you came back. So this has now been reduced to, was it, I think we put 3 years in there. I have to like go look. I think we cut that in half down to 3 years. Yeah.
Any further questions, council, on this agreement? Okay, looking for a motion.
No question, I was just wondering if the chief had any.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Do you have anything else that you might want to add? We do have representatives from the association here as well. I'm not sure, Sergeant
Yeah.
Dyke, if you wanted to say anything. Nope, we're good. Okay.
Are you happy with it? Are you happy with it? Okay, sounds good to me. All right, looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve new business item 8.5, resolution 25-2025.
I need a second to the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Go ahead and moving on to sergeants. The board. Resolution 26/2025, resolution adopting the wayfinding master plan. I've got a bunch of questions. Go ahead and start.
All right, I'll let Brandon take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been a plan that has been on pause for really probably the last year or so, just as we went out to bid on the original wayfinding or monument project up at Highway 730 and 395, as that has gone through kind of several design changes in the last year or so, and ultimately ending up with what ended up getting built. We wanted to make sure that that kind of very focal centerpiece of our new wayfinding master plan was properly incorporated into this wayfinding master plan. So originally, when we had presented this, probably about a year and a half ago, we had provided you guys 3 options. Council at that point in time selected option 1, which is in your packets. So we have made a couple of minor tweaks and then made sure that all of the new material references are kind of final adopted wayfinding entryway monument is what it's called in the wayfinding plan up at Highway 730 and 395. The one thing that I found as I was looking through the packet after it already went out, and this is you should have a large paper copy in front of you. There's kind of 2 different documents. What you have in front of you is the location plan, so that shows the signs and then the various locations throughout the city where we would be looking to install those signs. We also have the actual construction plan so that we can provide those to sign manufacturers to be able to install. I noticed that on the park signs, we actually wanted to include a Umatilla logo. So on that piece of paper that you have in front of you, that shows what the updated park signs specifically would have, where we just added a Umatilla logo to make sure that anybody who's visiting the parks knows that they are city parks. That did not get included into the location plan, so I'll work with the consultant to get that one little tweak, but wanted to make sure you guys knew what the final park signs would be looking like. I guess it sounded like there were a few questions. I'll kind of pause there and see what questions you all might have.
My biggest question is on page 45 of the packet, this is gonna cost us $740,000. And then is that over? I see that it's broken down into phases. Is this a 5-year plan? Is this a 10-year plan where we're doing this every 2 years? We're doing a section? Is it a 15, a 30? Like how long is it?
Yeah, so it's the way that the plan is set out is as budget allows. So each year through the annual budget process. So that's the cost in today's dollars to, if we were to build everything today, that's what that cost would be. So the idea here is that they've broken it up in potential proposals for how to phase it in. So some of it is through downtown area, some at parks and so on. And you'd be able to try to get those through in our budget request. So when you meet in a couple weeks, you will have at least one request in here to start implementing some of those phases.
I would just add, in the last budget cycle, we did approve phase one. There was an allocation for about $120,000 to be able to move forward with phase one of the wayfinding plan. So we would still be looking to implement that. I think Edinburgh was planning to ask for some money for park signs in this next budget cycle.
And I noticed as well, they have a picture of the front entrance way. Is that something that's included within this budget, or is that, sorry, the new rock?
The entry monument?
Is that included in this? Is that separate here?
Yeah, so that's not included in this. That's totally separate. And the idea was, and I think the one that was included in the original packet was still the old design, and now we have the updated, what we've built out there now. But what you might recall when we brought this about a year and a half ago on these signs, the tops had like different versions. What we settled in was this river and desert sort of mixed kind of top design for these. We had other ones that were, one was quite colorful, had, geez, I don't know, like 7 or 8 different kind of colors. It looked sort of like a confetti party. And then there was kind of some other stuff that was there. I think that you were presented with 5 different options. And at the time we were looking at settling on these, but before we approved that, we wanted to see what the final design was. And that's when we went out to the partnership design for the entry monument and ultimately settled on that. Now that that's completed, we just want to make sure that this still is the idea, that it's that river desert mix that comes along with those signs, as well as with those rock features, rock masonry features that come along with it. And then that's what we're looking at to implement throughout each of these different zones that are identified here.
So do we have strict, and assuming we've already approved phase one, can we break, potentially phase 2 into smaller sections? Is it firm? Is it like, are we going to do, reads? Like, how does that break down?
Yeah, so the phases are really established to help us discuss each of those. Phase 2 could be, for example, phased in over 3 or 4 different budget cycles. It's really as budget allows. And so as the budget committee works through its process, as you know, there may be years where we have really tough budget decisions to make, and we say, we're not really funding any of this. We have other priorities. And we have other years where we say, yeah, we want to put 20,000 or 50,000 towards it this year.
Yeah, it does give you kind of the individual cost breakdown in that phase section for each individual sign. So we could go as large or as small as council thought was appropriate on any given budget year.
I think that's a really important, especially as we move forward in the budget cycle, especially with a bond. We're making sure that we're not tying ourselves down to something that's not something that we can easily find a way out.
Yeah, the 5 phases is kind of ambitious to try and get everything in large chunks, so they have it just clustered by kind of downtown or park signs or vehicle travel signs. We would probably actually look to move forward with phase 3 before 2, just to get the park improvements done, because we don't have park signage or as good a park signage as we would like now. But again, that's all subject to budget committee and approval on any given.
That's all.
Phase 2 is pretty hefty.
I know. Who's have a question?
No. Like all projects, just talk to how much stuff costs.
Every time. There's not a packet.
I haven't done stuff lately, it's like, I'm sure a mile of road costs more than $1 million now, but.
Yeah, what is it now?
About 2.
There's everything out of mind. Okay. Green?
No, I just really think these signs are really nice. College on them. I'm very excited for them all. And start moving on it because they're beautiful.
No question there. They do look great, even though the color one. Okay. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion on item 8.6 to approve resolution 26-2025.
Thank you, Bruce. Need a second motion, please?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Moving on to 8.7, resolution 27/2025, resolution providing a First Amendment agreement for a long-term rural enterprise zone tax abatement, SABE Data Center Operating LLC.
Give me just one moment. All right, so we have, Ryan. Yeah, we have, Ryan, I always get your last name. Is it Bebout? Is that how you say that? All right, we have, Ryan here from, SABE, to help answer any questions you might have. Also, just to introduce himself. I'd like to go ahead and give him a moment just to say hello to the council, let you know what we're doing here. But, council might recall last year we approved, actually it was, September of 23 that we approved enterprise zone agreement with SABE Data Centers. They are looking to, if everything goes according to plan, looking to break ground on those facilities prior to the end of the year. One of the terms that are set up in the ORS is there's a couple different ways on when you can identify when the clock started and how many employees that you had. And so that's what we're looking to do with this amendment here. We're looking to create what the ORS calls the base year. When did that start? And basically we're saying the base year started at the time of that, shortly after that agreement was signed. At that time, it bare dirt, no employees, and so on. So we didn't define that. It was ambiguous in that agreement. This clarifies it very specifically to that date. And so that will allow them to be able to move forward to meet the ORS requirements for job creation and what those jobs are paid. So with that, I can also have Ryan, if you wanted to come up the microphone, just say hello or answer any questions or anything that SABE might have, or anything from there.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thanks for Mayor. Ryan Vita. I am an employee of SABE Data Center. So I was here a few months ago. I don't really have a lot to add.
Okay, great.
It's defining the experience.
How many jobs are we projected to add?
No, I can't really say. I can tell you what our other sites have now. Our Quincy, Washington site has almost 200 employees, but not all of them are SABE employees. Most of the jobs are custom. My understanding is that this LTRES program, the employees have to be SABE employees. So even though there will be more full-time positions at the site that our customers provide than what we provide, it's only our jobs that are counted. So, but yeah, our data center in Quincy has 200 data centers. More employees.
Awesome. All right, looking for motion this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we approve new business item 8.7, resolution number 27-2025.
Thank you. Your motion will be a second motion, please.
I'll second.
All of it.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you guys have it. This is our second comment section. Great. All right. Moving on now to our discussion item, we have the work session for Rock the Locks neighborhood and community engagement activity, budget process, policy process, and a certain criteria discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I have representatives from Jensen Strategies here. They are our consultants helping us work through our Rock the Locks engagement processes. So I will let them get situated here at the staff table, and we'll get started here in just a minute. You're very welcome. This microphone and see if
Oh.
Red light needs to be on. There we go.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having us tonight. It is very nice to be here. Thank you, Mayor and Council. For those of you we have not had the opportunity to meet yet, my name is Amelia Wallace. I'm joined by my colleague Sia Lindstrom. We are from Jensen Strategies, and we've been assisting the city just over a year now with the Rock the Locks community engagement. So we're pleased to be here tonight. to continue supporting that engagement and supporting your decision as far as the next Rock the Locks, the future of the Rocks the Locks Festival. So tonight, and if you can go, perfect, thank you. So tonight, during this work session, we'll be planning to talk about three areas. So the first is how the budget will be handled for the 2026 festival. How you as a council can move through this decision-making process for the future Rock the Locks festivals. And of course, the proposed community engagement and neighbor activities for in advance of the 2025 festival, as well as engaging in the future festival decision. Slide, thank you. So briefly, since most of you all lived this and are deeply familiar, after the inaugural festival, the council approved the festival for 2 more years. Over those 2 years, the festival has seen a number of successes related to attendance, revenue growth, et cetera, and also 2 areas for identified work, specifically fiscal sustainability and sound mitigation. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague to walk through the 2 tracks that we're considering this decision-making process unfolding over.
Thank you, Amelia. Oops. There we go. Thank you. A little technical expertise. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Sia Lindstrom with Jensen Strategies. Very happy to be with you all tonight. So I'm going to walk you through information about these 2 tracks before we really dive into a discussion. The first track we're calling the budget track, and the second is the policy track. And I'll spend a minute on each slide. Thank you for moving that forward. The first budget track is just about how we're recommending that you include Rock the Locks 2026 in your current budget process. Now, this is similar to the way that you have done this in previous years. It would just be included in the annual city budget process. The budget process concludes when you approve the overall city budget in June. And then based on decisions you make about future Rock the Locks, specifically 2026 Rock the Locks, any adjustments would be made via a supplemental budget process if needed. So there would be 2 opportunities during this budget track for community input on the city budget process. One would be during the budget hearing, April 15th, and the other would be during the council decision-making process in June. So that's just a quick overview of the recommended process for budget decisions around Rock the Locks 26. Next slide, please. Okay, policy track. So this is about the process that we're recommending you all look at for making decisions on future Rock the Locks festivals. So the process would launch tonight with council direction on 2 things. Criteria you want to use for the decision-making process and engagement. And those are the 2 things we're going to walk through. So the community engagement would happen around April and May. We would come back to the council on June 17th with the results of that engagement. And then council decision-making around the future Rock the Locks festivals would happen July 15th. Next slide. So this is a quick overview of the timeline then for both tracks. And we're going to show this to you again at the very end of the presentation so that you have a chance to see how all the pieces come together. As you can see, the budget track is outlined on the left in green. Starts with the March 18th first budget committee meeting and concludes with a supplemental budget process if needed. The right side in purple, starts with this work session and would conclude in July 15th with your final decision on the future Rock the Locks. So now we're going to dive into it. Now that we've given you kind of all the preliminary information. This first section, we're going to look at 2 pieces: criteria for future Rock the Locks decisions, and then engagement. We do the next slide. Okay, so the first section, the next several slides, I'll walk you through, and this will be about what criteria you as council want to use to make your decisions about future Rockville locks. And in particular, what we're going to be asking you tonight is about criteria that you want us to roll out for community engagement. So this isn't asking you to make a decision tonight. This is about rolling out what gets rolled out for community engagement. We'll come back to that in a minute. So I'll walk you through that piece. Then I'll hand it off to Amelia to walk you through the second section, which is about community engagement activities. Now we'll pause at the end of each section for you all to give us feedback, questions, and direction. So thank you. We'll be starting with potential considerations for Rockville locks for future decision-making. So we have really 3 buckets of criteria that we are bringing for your consideration. And Amelia and I, as she pointed out, we've been working with you all for about a year now. And so we have been hearing a lot from you, from the community, from staff, about the things that are important to you all related to this festival. And Amelia and I have pulled these together into these 3 areas. So what we're touching base with you tonight about is, are these the right things for us to be looking at? Are these the right things for us to be taking out to community and asking them more about? Okay. So the first section is around time frame options. And here in a minute, I'm going to be flipping to the next slide to share with you a little bit about that. Then we'll be looking at options around fiscal responsibility. The third bucket is around community impacts. There will be a chance then for you all to give us feedback about, is there anything else? But as Amelia and I were kind of sifting through all the feedback, these seem to be the 3 big major areas, or time frame, fiscal responsibility, and community impacts. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here we get started. First consideration, first criteria is around time frame. Now we've thrown up all the possibilities that are out there related to time frame. What we are going to be asking you for, again, is feedback about which of these options are in the realm of possibility that you want us to forward to the community for comment, for input, for consideration about pros and cons, okay? So you can see we have everything here from the letter A, which is end the festival series after this year's Rockville Locks, all the way to approve it indefinitely and everything in between. And again, keep in mind, the question we're going to be asking you all is, which of these options do you all want us to throw out there for community feedback? Okay. So in between there, we've got that you would authorize continuation for 1 more year through 2026, that you would authorize for another 2 years through 2027. You could continue it another 3, or another 5. Okay. Now, the other piece I'll say about these is that any of the multi-year options would include an annual progress report to you all, just as your city manager has been doing for the last several years. Okay, so there are those annual checkpoints as you go along. Okay. Any questions about this one before we move on to the second? And again, we're going to be pausing at the end of this section to get your feedback on all of this. So far, so good. Okay, rolling on to the next one. So the next one is around fiscal responsibility. And we have heard a couple of things related to this one. I will say one of the things about this one that's really helpful is that your city manager, I think you have heard, has plans to engage Eco Northwest in a study to help us really refine this measurement tool. So you will have more information about this to come. If you'll flip quickly to the next slide, I want to tell you a little bit about Eco Northwest, because they are a very reputable firm. I think you all have probably worked with them in the past. They're based in the Pacific Northwest. They're independent and interdisciplinary. They're known for their rigorous policy research. You can look them up online. So I think you've got a good firm here that you're working with. If you could roll back 1 more now. So thank you. Oh. Okay, so, so that's where I just want to say, we've got 4 of these up here. You're going to be getting more information from Eco Northwest that may cause you to refine these as you're moving through this. For now, the things that we know, we have heard from you all and from the community are important. Number 1 is the local and regional economic benefits. This is something that has been front and center. We've heard since the very beginning. A big reason you're doing this is because of the local and regional economic benefits. A second one that you're looking at related to fiscal responsibility is the level of city support it takes for the festival. The third is around cost recovery. How much of that cost are you able to recover through the revenue that comes in? And then the fourth is return on investment. And I put an example up here. For example, at least $3 in regional economic benefit for every $1 spent by the city. That's not an actual figure here. It's just my example. But that's the kind of thing you look at with the return on investment. So those are the 4 kinds of fiscal criteria we've heard related to Rock the Locks. And again, our question is going to be, of these, which would you like for us to roll out for community feedback about the importance?
I have a quick question.
Please.
So local regional economic benefits, how is that different than return on investment in your definition?
Yeah, that's part of what Eco Northwest is going to help us to sort out. In this case, there are kind of more qualitative issues that are also associated with regional and local economic benefits that you can bring in beyond just the kind of number that comes with the ROI. Yeah, Dave, is there anything you want to add to that one?
Sure. On the preliminary discussions with Eco Northwest, so one of the things we highlighted here is city visibility. So one of the things that they pointed out to us that is not in any of our post-event reports so far to date is those that have never been to Umatilla before that now come and then recognize whether here they had a good time or recognize maybe they're with the we presented last time the median household income of a festival goer for this event is about 80,000. And so they looked at, you know, maybe some of these people are small business owners that might think about bringing their business here or might think about coming here for the weekend or something like that. So looking at what sort of additional benefit might exist from the visibility of coming and spending a weekend in Umatilla while they're at the event. We haven't touched on that at all. We don't have any metrics or anything for that, but that is something that Eco Northwest has and that they'd look into. And that's just one example of what they've mentioned. That's something that we can consider as part of that economic benefit.
And one last point I'd just add is, so of the four measures that we have outlined here as potential options, you could consider the first 3 as kind of standalone numbers, and the 4th, the return on investment, taking 2 standalone numbers and looking at how they relate, right? So taking the investment and comparing it with some other return, which could be structured in a number of ways.
Did I get you where you needed to go? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Other questions or thoughts on this one before we roll on?
How much we pay people?
The study contract on that is a NTE of 15,000. They don't anticipate being anywhere near that. They're estimating to be somewhere between 10 and 11,000, but we have an NTE of 15.
As we get into this, I would be really interested in seeing, excuse me, how far into detail we can get as far as identifying local economic benefits rather than give a split between local and regional.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say I think I'm more focused on how this is impacting our city. Sorry, Mayor Hermiston. We really are trying, we're spending the dollar figures here. We really need to make sure we're spending the dollar figures for our community and not for Hermiston. Sorry.
Yeah, so we looked at the last report. We were able, using our new contracted Placer AI software system, we were able to get actual foot traffic to each businesses, both weekends prior, weekend of, weekend after, and then compare those to other times of the year. That allowed us, it's sort of the horse to water analogy. So we can, if we bring them here, we can get them into the business. We don't know if they actually open up the wallet and buy something, but at least we can get them there. They'll look at that, and we broke that down we looked at each business in Umatilla at this last post-event report. But you're exactly right. The Economes they will break it out that way. They'll look at the city of Umatilla economic impact, and then they will provide a regional, it's part of their scope is to look at the regional impact as well.
Anything else on this one?
I think for me, from all of those options, I personally, the cost recovery is our number one. You know, we talked a lot about, you know, we're in the business of losing money, but losing $1.1 million last year is unsustainable, just period. Especially when we're talking about going out for a bond and floating the bill of the police department on the public. How are we as a city willing to lose $1.1 million on the bet that we're not seeing an economic recovery from, we're not seeing cost recovery. I just don't think it's sustainable. But I think that's the most important on that list.
It's helpful feedback. And we'll get feedback, I think, from all of you all on these when we get to that slide. So thank you for leading that off. We'll make sure and circle back to that one. Okay, let's roll then one more. Okay, so the last bucket for this section is around community impacts. And as I mentioned, we pulled together 3 general areas for this based on what we heard from you all. One was around neighbor sound mitigation. And this has been a big one. So what our proposal to you all is around this criteria that you would look at our continued success in refining mitigation efforts according to sound engineer reports and neighbor input, so that we would make sure and have that there. And there's a number of strategies that staff is using to address this issue. So the measures for this would be around sound engineer data and the success of mitigating those. So that would be number 1. Second is community livability. And you all have been looking at impacts such as public safety, traffic, garbage, impacts on the golf course. And so we are proposing here that this would be a criteria that you continue to look at related to mitigating those impacts successfully. And whether this is the right, again, remember the question tonight is just, is this the right criteria for us to be looking at? And then the third here is around community benefit. And we've heard quite a bit about how this is something that really adds to the community, that there's community satisfaction. We're seeing resident festival attendance, festival participation, all those kinds of things. And both of these, both community livability and community benefit, could be measured through your annual post-event survey, community survey. But also through your attendance numbers. So the question is going to be related to this. Are these 3 the right criteria for us to be rolling out for community feedback for you all to consider? Neighbor sound mitigation, community livability, and community benefit. So any questions on this one before we move to the next slide?
I have a question on this one. I know we talked about sound mitigation before. For me, how is that different than community livability? You know, we talked a little bit about continue to mitigate impacts of public safety. The amount of noise that we currently have makes it unlivable within our community. How is community livability and sound mitigation separate?
Yeah, it's a great question. We debated that ourselves because we could bring it into the community livability bucket. Absolutely. There has been a lot of attention given to sound mitigation. And so that's why in the end, we ended up recommending to you all to keep it as a separate item, just because it has been such a focus of work and such a focus for the closest neighbors in particular. So this is more a signal of importance than anything else. But if you all feel that we are at a place where we could roll it into the larger community livability bucket, absolutely, we can do that as well. So I think it would probably get you to the same place, it's just about emphasis. Does that help?
Well, and I could just add that, one other factor is that, this is one that is particularly of impact to the closest neighbors, but the neighbors, the community livability, that also relates to the neighbor feedback as well, right? That the traffic and the garbage and the other issues are intimately related. It was just separating out that as a particular unique impact to that specific population. It's somewhat different than the other impacts on community.
Okay, with that, I think we're ready for the next slide, and this is where, for this section now, I get to turn it over to you for feedback to us. And in particular, we're going to be looking first at time frame, and remember the A through F, and we'll circle back to that slide if we need to. The options there, which ones you'd like us to roll up, community feedback, then we'll deal with fiscal sustainability and then community impact. And then we'll make sure that you all have a chance if there are any other buckets. So let's start with the time frame. Councilor McLean, is that?
Yeah, so on the timeframe, I guess I hope you're not hoping for a specific answer. I would lean toward shorter timeframes until we get through the remainder of this information and get to where we are dealing with the next pile of information. If you're looking for some guidance from the term and say, look, I think I'm stuck looking at the shorter time frames. Absolutely no more than 3 years at this stage of the game. And, all that dependent upon, what additional information comes our way and what the feedback is. And as far as what you have listed out there, I can't think of anything to add to the list that looks like it's pretty encompassing for what we have to get on the table to be able to sort through and make decisions about where this is going.
Okay. So for your perspective, you'd say that shorter time frames, 3 years and less, would be the options you would want to roll out for community feedback, and then all the rest.
Yes.
Okay. How about others?
I agree with them. I'd probably go with the 2 year, group 2 years and see how we do with those and see where we get cost recovery and sound it. We're going to be crazy like hog wild on it, but I do like to see, I like the event and I want it to succeed, but we definitely need to get some of the costs down that the mayor brought out here. We do, so.
Can I, let me do this, if you don't mind flipping back to the timeframe slide for me. I just want to make sure that we've got the timeframes on here this year, and I may need to wait for Councilor to come back to confirm it.
It only wants to go forward. It's a good trait.
So I want to make sure, Councilor McLean, I think, was talking 3 years or less. Councilor McMillan, you were saying 2 years or less. Do you want to have A on the list as well, or are you really talking B and C?
I would probably C, I would choose C.
Okay. Do you want to roll out just C, or are you thinking more options than that for community?
If I could clarify too, so we're not making the decision right now on whether we're doing this for 1 year. The idea is what are we proposing when we're engaging with the community here, both the neighbor group and then the community at large group. When we present these options to them, we're looking at what would they, from their individual perspective, are they interested in 25 is it, 26, 27, or 28? That's what we're hearing so far. So, and then when we go through that community engagement processes at your June meeting, June 17th meeting, we'll report back to you as to what was said both in that survey and in those town hall meetings to be able to bring that information back to you.
So this is about what opinions do you want us to get from community? Yeah, which ones?
C and D.
C and D?
Yes.
So would you say, because I like that none of them say end after account to continue, because it has the potential to continue. I'm probably C or D.
C or B?
C or D.
C or D, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards A and B. Yeah, and after 2025, and potentially the numbers look good, we continue it for 1 year, but it's a discretion of the council year by year. It's not something we're gonna continue for 3 years or more, we're losing millions of dollars.
Okay. And so I have so far, 2 counselors, one has to roll out C and D, one, for A and B. And Councilor McLean, we're waiting for you to come back and see which of these specifically, I know you were saying 3 years or less. And I can give you a minute to think and we can go to the counselors online if you want, yes. Councilor McMillan online, did you, want to weigh in?
I kind of am along the lines of C and D as well. I think that we just need just a few more years to kind of see where it's going before we would decide to give up or not. So I think C or D would work for me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree, C or D.
I think most of the feedback is coming around C and D. Okay. Now, here's one of the things I will say about this too. The community is going to tell us what they feel about just about any of this. So we can come out saying that the council would like us to in particular get feedback on C and D. But we are going to hear about others as well.
I was gonna say, if I could just make a suggestion, is, I agree with what Sia is saying, is that council at the moment, there seems to be strong emphasis at looking at C or D. But I think as we're engaging with the community here, we really ought to be looking at A through D. Sounds like there's no interest in E and F right now. And so just strike those off the list and let's hear from the community and see where they're at. If there's some that are similar to Mayor A or B, let's hear from that. There's some that are similar to some of you, C or D, let's hear from that. I think there's, I don't want to be preemptive and saying nobody's interested in A and we took it off the list, but in fact, maybe there were a lot of people interested in A, for example. So I want to, if I could suggest as we go out and engage the community, that we have that A through D available to take out.
And folks live with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dave, thank you. So, okay, let's roll forward again. Hopefully you have more fun with the moving forward to the fiscal list. Whoops, no, backwards.
How many more?
Page 267.
Thank you. So now I think, Councilor McLean, you'd already suggested that all 4. Rest of council want to weigh in? Yeah.
And based on the mayor's feedback, we can also be sure that the local and regional impacts are reported on separately if the council is supportive of that. So just to make that clarification.
Yes, please.
The average, don't take the credit on that one. I think it's definitely important to make sure we highlight separate people. Yep, I'm fine with I'm fine with all 4 of those. I think it needs to be very clear about what ROI actually is, especially when we're talking about like the option 1, local regional economic benefits. How are we going to define, because what we're defining there is ROI, is we're generating $3 in regional economic benefits. That should fall under regional economic benefits. That's not a return on investment that we're actually seeing. So return on investment for me is cost recovery. But I guess I'm confused, like what is return on investment in this country? I know we're waiting for you to Northwest, but I'm curious, like that is the same. Those are, it's, okay.
Yeah, and terminology is really important, especially as we talk to the community about what these things mean. So yeah, we'll make sure to get that down. I appreciate that feedback. Okay. I'm going to our counselor online again around the fiscal responsibility items. Councilor McMillan, did you have anything online on this?
I agree with the 4 as well. I think everybody's kind of gone over, the most important things, but I agree with the 4 too. To kind of see what the return on the investment is and everything. I think that's pretty smart.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then rolling forward, again, 2 slides to community impact. Okay. And again, the question is, are these the right 3 for us to be rolling out for community feedback? What do you all think?
Yeah, I believe they are. I absolutely agree with the mayor's point that some mitigation could be, rolled into livability, but I believe it's, you're right at the point we need to deal with that as a separate issue and collect that data. And I like the split that is there. And I think those are the three items that I can't think of anything I would want to add.
I agree with Councilman McLean on that. I think it is kind of a set. I can see, definitely see where it is merged together, but it is kind of its own animal, so to speak. So
My concern with separating the 2 of them at this point is if we're saying, hey, only 35 people brought up sound mitigation as a problem, but 500 people said that B was a problem. Are we saying that, sound mitigation is not important? Because only 30 people put that, because it's the neighbors that are actually impacted by that, or is that part of?
I'm saying it is important.
I agree, but I'm saying, if this was a survey question, we took this out. If I'm living up on South Hill, I don't care about sound mitigation, but I care about traffic because I work out my business. So if the concern is, we're talking about livability, it's not livable to me because I have to go out to the prison and have some traffic jams. I'm gonna pick B. If this is going out to the broader community as a whole, or if this is going to the local neighbors, if this is going to the local neighbors, then they're gonna say sound mitigation is most. So how are we going to differentiate that data?
Yeah, so because we'll be there's going to be 2 pieces to this. There's going to be the community feedback that we get as part of this process. And then there's going to be the ability to actually measure this over time. And so when you measure this over time, you will have the ability to segment it out for neighbors. Dave, that's my understanding. Is that right? You'll be able to segment it out for neighbors versus kind of the general community. Does that answer your question?
I'm just concerned that if, SIG goes back to neighbor sound mitigation, if they start getting lower numbers because they're the least number of impact.
Yeah.
But yet they're the ones that have the largest impact.
Well, I guess I'll flip that question, Mayor. Is the resident in South Hill's opinion less important as the resident because of proximity? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just asking the question.
And I think it is. I think the people who live in McNary, who have a direct sound impact, like Mia, where she literally has a physical disability that just drives her from her home, she has a much bigger impact than someone who is not impacted by this on South Hill. I think their voices should be louder. And I think that I'm worried that if we are looking at 3 options here and someone on South Hill picks B or C, then we're missing the voices that are the most impacted by this.
Well, I think that's why we've broken this out for the mitigation strategy this way. We've recognized that sound impacts have clearly been identified as the largest impact to really anybody at the event as far as proximity goes. The first year we monitored very, very closely general calls for service for public safety, traffic in the neighborhoods, garbage, things like that. And ultimately, those both years back to back, we didn't really see any increase for calls of service. There was, negligible. In fact, the traffic this year actually went down than it was from the year before. And only a few comments about sort of garbage and things like that. So we were looking at sound specifically. I think one of the things that this council is going to need to determine and decide is, at what level are we or are we not comfortable with their sound. I'll kind of put it this way. We are adopting a lot of new, we are incorporating the recommendations of the sound engineer for 2025. So the wall's getting taller, we're readjusting stage and sound, we've set maximum limits and so on. However the sound gets in 2025, we don't know if there's going to be sort of that return on investment, they sort of getting that through to get anything more back. So what I guess what I'm trying to say, however good it gets in 25 for sound mitigation is almost as good as it's gonna be unless we invest even more and even more. And what we're trying to say here is that I would argue the city has said that the close proximity neighbors have been a higher priority. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to date to mitigate those sound, and we're continuing to do so again this year. And so at some point, the council is going to need to make that decision on if the data comes back and it says the decibel levels are here, the impacts are here, and this is as good as it's going to get if we're going to say that for the sake of conversation, and you're going to have to weigh that against the rest of the community and their comments and what they say. That's for you to weigh and measure. And staff is trying to say, we don't know how heavy each of those items are on those scales. We're relying on you to provide that information for us.
So, Mayor, I guess you've got me thinking, it's like, okay, I think I would specifically want to add noise, like in the community livability area. And, I guess I get my head wrapped around this. It's like community livability would be an aggregate at noise impact. And then we'd be able to give to the neighbor sound mitigation where that, where the neighbor thinks that's an issue.
Yeah.
And we should be able to pull apart that question you have.
Yes, exactly. So my point is that, sound mitigation is a problem solved this big of a percentage of community. We don't want to have it voice misrepresented in this conversation.
Correct.
And I think that's,
problem.
but it's this big of a problem, this big of a voice, and this large of a community. If they're this big of a voice, they're getting lost in the numbers.
And we could, if we direct this a little bit toward that, we've got the tools to figure that out.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say from staff perspective, when you look at these other ones that are listed on here, safety, traffic, garbage, I know they're all different, but for the sake of conversation, let's take garbage as an example. At some point, there's some sort of threshold, right? We're having a festival, we're okay, maybe with a little bit of garbage there for the weekend, we can clean it up, and we're all sort of okay with that. What does that look like for sound? Are we, at what level are we like, we're kind of okay if it's a little bit noisy? And last year we were using analogies like, no, there's no longer a concert in my backyard, now there's just my neighbors having a party. Now we want to take it from my neighbors are having a party to my neighbors are having a get together, or whatever analogy you want to use. So we're going to need to have those conversations, because I'll just right now, just very clearly, it's never going to get to, it's like it's a normal day on the golf course. That's not what it's going to be during this weekend. And I don't think that's anybody's expectation. But somewhere between that and whatever it's going to be is where that threshold needs to be. And staff doesn't have an answer for you for that. We're going to present all this information and provide you that. And that's going to be the conversation and decision making that you'll need to make.
And I'm curious too, because I think what I hear you saying, Counselor, is that you like it in both places. Isn't it right? That you would like kind of the separate neighbor sound mitigation, but you'd also like it included as one of the items that we look at in the broader community livability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think that is the tool by which we can differentiate between, a specific sound issue that people that are next to the event have. And that's been identified, and be able to turn around to the mayor's point of being able to say, okay, we don't want to underemphasize the people that have a problem, but we don't want to turn that into a bigger issue than it is. And if we don't collect the data in an aggregate manner to be able to look at it and say, out of 7,000 people, 35 have a problem.
Mm-hmm. So, and
whatever the numbers are.
yeah, and so what this means in terms of how this would get operationalized, noise would be part of the annual post-event community survey. David, I don't know if it already is, actually. It probably is. So it'd just be a matter of explicitly adding it to the list of your considerations. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see, I think I've gotten through most of you all on the dais.
I really have no comment. I am fine on either of that. Just because as a community, we've got to know that, so several times a year, you know, it's just gonna be loud, like, we're not gonna be able to get rid of zero and have no noise, like, think of Fourth of July, like, it's loud that night, or several days too. So that's just how it is, stuff like that's gonna happen, and that's just a part of holidays and that kind of thing, so, people, I hope, can understand that it's not gonna be like zero quiet, it's just.
I mean, we could cancel, that would be zero.
Yeah.
Back to
Right.
as normal. That would be the option.
Yeah, and I think that's what, very few want to do. But I just reiterate, I'm okay, however they wanted to word that, that is fine with me. Okay. I just wanted my little 2 cents in there, but it's just, when we have different events, it's gonna be loud. Can't get away from noise, my children are loud, my house is always loud, so. Children will do that. Yeah.
And how about our counselor online? Councilor McMillan, anything on community impacts you want to weigh in about?
No, I agree with most of them up there. I just, yeah, they've said most of it, and so I do agree with, especially what Councilor McLean was mentioning, both aspects there. I think that's a good idea, so.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, can you roll it forward one more slide again? And just want to touch base, just to make sure, the last question on this, so we have feedback on time frame that will take options A through D out for community feedback. On the fiscal sustainability, we'll take all of these out and we'll make sure and make the distinction between local and regional, and we'll make sure and define our terms well as we go. For community impact, the one friendly amendment we got there was to make sure and add sound to the community livability list as well. So there it's in both places. And then I just want to stop briefly and say, are there any others? And Councilman McLean, I heard you say no, you thought already we got them covered. But I just want to give anybody else a chance. Is there anything else that needs to get included?
I can't think of any.
What about potentially opening this up to a privatized company? You know, Whiskey Fest, a private company. The Gorge is ran by a private company. What if we open this up to a privatized company, what do we use?
Do you want that to be a question for the community to consider? Is that what you're asking, Mayor?
Yeah, we're losing billions of dollars on this, but a company is setting taxpayers. I think that's a question.
So if I can understand, the question would be if, as we're weighing and measuring each of these things on impact and fiscal sustainability, if the fiscal sustainability essentially becomes the burden of private, but you still have community impact, how does that adjust the scale of this way and measures that?
Yeah, I think that's the question. I think it's really important that we allow free market to do what it's going to do, and any free market enterprise things dollars on the agency. So if we let the free market do what it's going to do, then it's going to sort itself out. So if people want to come to this is a big deal. If people are out there with exports saying don't buy tickets, don't do this, do we allow this to be in part of the free market instead?
Yeah, I think there's a broader conversation with that certainly, and we've talked about this in the post events. Just as we're not a for-profit, they might be, but we're in a service industry, and we've mentioned that a little bit before, and so that's part of this discussion. It's not really mentioned here as we're looking at that because we haven't thought of it as, or we haven't thought to present it to the neighbor that way. But the idea would be with that, then yeah, there's lots of services that communities provide that don't have 100% cost recovery, but we provide them anyway. We do, yeah.
I think the difference between this and the golf course is long-term lasting. The golf course, you drive past every single day, and this is a 3-day event where it costs us $1.1 million that we're losing. I think that is the key difference. I'm fine losing $1.1 million on a new city street. I'm fine losing on anything else. I think bigger conversation. This is a 3-day event. We're losing $1.1 million.
Well, but I think that's part of the dialogue here, Mayor, is that and the last year was better than the year before, is that the event has the potential to get to a higher level of cost recovery. And that's more of the question here on that fiscal sustainability. Is that goal net zero, 10% profit? Or are we okay like other recreation programs where it's 30% or it's 70% cost recovery, 50% cost recovery, or so on? And we mentioned in the post-event report, it has more to do with scale than necessarily percentages, because as a matter of percentage, it's one of our higher cost recovery percentages. It's just the largest scale thing that we do. And so those dollars are significantly skewed. And so that's where we focus that question more on cost recovery, has been on as a matter of a percentage or a matter of total dollar amount, not necessarily scale. And is there a value in providing this service? And that's where we got into these community impacts on that community benefit level was, and you heard some from public comment stuff before, it had to do with, you know, put us on the map, something to look forward to, what's the benefits to the businesses and so on. And so those are all those variables that you look at and you weigh as you make your decision as the future of the event. And so I just wanted to make sure that for me, and from what we've heard in these post-event surveys and from the festival goer and from the neighbors there, that dollars and cents, just a flat dollar, really, it's just not, it's more sophisticated than that. That's one data point out of several different data points that need to be considered.
I wonder, I'll check in with all of you, Mayor, I'm hearing your suggestion that we put the idea of a partnership with a private partner on the table. In my mind, it feels like that's part of the fiscal sustainability question. Is that because this is a question about how does it become fiscally sustainable? Is that an accurate statement?
I think that's part of it, but also brings up Dave's counterpoint to that as well. Is, hey, if we privatize this, we lose control over how it.
Yeah. Right.
So, you know, if this is something that we allow to be permitted and allowed in our city, how are we going to move forward with that? I think that's a broader question that is hard to answer in the survey.
Yeah.
But I do think the question of, hey, should this be a private company, not necessarily a local city? I think that's important.
How do the rest of council feel about adding that to the list of things that we ask community about?
I don't necessarily agree with them. I mean, it could be up to, you know, the people to say whether they think that's a good idea or not. I'm not against the voice of the people that, you know, prevail.
And in essence, what we would do is ask folks, what do they think are the pros and cons, the strengths and weaknesses of doing something like this? And that's the feedback that we would bring you all in July. Yeah. Other councilors have thoughts on adding this to the list?
Just a general, a general statement. I mean, you said it earlier. I mean, in the end, the community's going to tell us. So, then, you know, we've got things going.
Okay, I'm not hearing any objections to adding it, so we'll throw it in there. Okay, I think for this section, we have another section yet, so hang in there with us, y'all. For this section, I think we have the feedback we need to move forward with this section. Dave, do you have what you need on this section before we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next section is related to neighbor and community engagement. For this one, I'll turn it over to Amelia to walk you through.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the helpful direction, and especially regarding the questions, right, about how this information will be collected. That's really the stage we're at, right? These are not needs, right, that'll be pitted against each other. It's not about weighing which one is more important. It's about understanding all the areas that we're going to collect feedback on. So I'm going to walk through what we've proposed as far as activities and goals for engagement leading up to this decision, and looking forward to your feedback. Specifically, I'm going to talk about two key areas of engagement. No surprises here. First, continuing to work with the neighbor community and directly supporting and collecting input from them. And then also looking for input from the entire community to revisit the future of Rock the Locks and what the key options and input that you just gave to us as far as what you're considering for your future decision. So with that, perfect, already on the slide. So related to neighbor engagement, looking at 3 core areas to focus on for this conversation. So specifically sound mitigation strategies for those most impacted. That's both sharing information and collecting input on what's planned for 2025 and future. Second will be sharing information about the inclusion of Rock the Locks in the 2026 budget process, just to make sure that they know how that relates to the policy decision that will be underway as well. And then, of course, information about where they can give input on the future Rock the Locks decision for future festivals. So specifically to collect that input, we're looking at 2 different activities. One is an in-person 1-hour meeting, trying to keep that short to value everybody's time. We're looking at Thursday, April 10th at, we neglected to put that time on there, but estimated 7 p.m. time, which would also include a follow-up survey option specifically focused on the items from that meeting, which will run for about 2 weeks. And I'll go ahead and share the community engagement before we come back for council feedback. So then for the broader community engagement, looking at really focusing in on the decision that you're making, right? The options that we're rolling out to get the community impact on. And specifically the activities that we're looking at are a 1-hour community town hall in person planned for the following week after the neighbor meeting. That will be Wednesday, April 16th at 7 p.m. That will also be accompanied by a broader survey and collection tool to allow folks who don't have the opportunity to attend the meeting. We've planned to run that for approximately 3 weeks with the intention of starting that in advance while we're promoting the meeting to attend, and then letting it run for a period after for any folks who aren't able to attend. As a reminder, there will be 2 opportunities to share information, input on the future of Rock the Locks directly to council, including written comments 2 weeks prior to the meeting before council's decision in July, and public testimony at the meeting. So.
Yeah, vote is May 20th.
Thank you, Mayor. If you'll go to the next slide. Now I'd like to turn to you and ask you, so considering the 2 areas of engagement that we've laid out for you tonight, with the neighbor engagement, are there any suggested changes that you have to these proposed activities for both groups?
Yeah, I can't think of any changes. I know we've done a pretty darn good job at the city level of really improving our community outreach. So I think we've got some tools we can depend on for getting word out that we're having that, that kind of response, and people should be aware of the opportunity to provide input. So although I'm very new up here, right, I feel really good about our community outreach at this stage of the game. So that should help set the stage.
Absolutely.
I think this is fine.
Excellent, thank you.
Want to check in just briefly with our online council?
Oh, thank you.
No, I think it looks good. We just really need to push getting the dates and everything out there to people. Like I said, last year there was a few meetings I wasn't even aware of. Maybe they were said and I just simply forgot, but there was a few meetings I wasn't really even aware of. So I think just pushing and doing what we can to try and get the awareness of these meetings out there, and maybe put them other places besides only Facebook. Not everybody uses Facebook. Even maybe a simple flyer down there at Harvest Foods, on their board. People who do not use Facebook still read some of that stuff. I mean, heck, I even go in there and will still look at the board up there. So even something just as simple as that.
Excellent. Thank you, Counselor. And yes, we'll be working closely with city staff to ensure that this is promoted on all the usual channels and any others. Which is a perfect segue because I wanted to say, you know, we've shared the 2 dates for the meetings tonight, April 10th for the neighbor meeting and April 16th. So we encourage you all, everybody who is here tonight, to spread the word and ensure that folks are aware of these 2 meetings. So with that, I'll briefly touch on next steps. So, oh yes, thank you very much. In this exact room, chamber, in the council chambers. So, excellent. So as mentioned before, the next time that you'll see us is on June 17th, where we'll be sharing the input that we've received from the community based on the direction that you gave us this evening. And as a reminder, we'll be sharing this timeline for the community, again, to make sure that folks know when meetings are happening, when decisions are happening, so everybody has the opportunity to get the input that they would like. With that, Sia, anything else?
Unless there's anything.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm thinking we might need another one, I mean, and I don't know, I'll just look it over. I just am worried, like, if some people miss one, I don't know, I just don't want anybody say again that they didn't know about the meetings, or they missed a meeting, or I just wanna make sure.
Do we need to add additional meetings?
I don't know. So you can add another one, like, I don't know, I just want my, conscience clear that we did everything we could to make sure that.
Should we add one potentially around the same dates in May? So we did one on, you know, May 15th and May 16th. That gives us another opportunity a month later to follow.
Or what about like the June 17th on that, the timeline tracking? It says council work session, community engagement report. Do we want something in between June, that and July, or is by then it's just, and then our final decision is July 15th? Because I just don't really want a bunch of people coming in July 15th and wanting to, it says public comment opportunity, and then a bunch of them voice, well, we didn't know. And then, I don't know.
Is there a place where people can put their information, their questions and concerns online?
So there's with this policy date timeline proposal, there's 3 in-person opportunities, and for the nearby neighbors 4 with the April 10th. So they have April 16th, June 17th, and July 15th. June 17th and 15th will be here in front of council, and April 16th will be at town hall. And then earlier on the slide, you saw the survey for the community, the broader community engagement goes really to the end of April. And then we take the 2 town hall meetings and the 2 surveys, and we're gathering all that together to create this report to you for June 17th. So that is about a month of putting all that information together. So if you had another meeting in May, we certainly could do that if that's something that we needed, if you felt that we needed to do. But we're looking at time to get all that information together and put together that report.
And part of what we can do, Councilor, too, as we are gathering our community input in April and May, is to be sure that folks are aware that they always have the opportunity to submit written testimony as well.
Yeah.
That's something that we make sure that people, they can submit that to you all at any point. And we'll make sure and emphasize that in the times coming up, in particular, in advance of your July consideration of this. So, yeah.
At your June 17th work session, you're likely going to need to make a decision for your the logistics of your July 15th date. When you go back and look at November of 23, we had, I believe it was almost 100 people came and gave public comment in person, and we had, I don't know, 20 or 30 written comments, and so you know, you all will need to make a decision as to how you're going to take those comments that night. And so, yeah, so it's March 4th. So you've got 3 months to kind of figure out, to think about how you might want to do that. And obviously there's several options. You can vote to meet earlier, extend your meeting longer, or go longer. You can adjust those public comment in-person times. There's several different options we can work with you on how to do that.
Any further questions or concerns, council? Okay, great.
No, that's
Okay. Katie, anything you'd like to add online?
Nope, not right now. I think we got it all covered.
Awesome, thank you, Katie.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Moving on to the mayor's message. Yeah, I want to say, thank you so much for everyone who came tonight and gave public comments and asked your questions. I really appreciate you all your time and effort as a community to show up with these and, Sadie, and thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Jensen Strategies, the library district, and everyone else. That's all I have. Going on to, Councilmember McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Don't forget to leave it on school. Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
And
man.
make everybody smile. Yeah. I did have a question, if I could direct it to the city. Do we have any sort of timeline update on when the roundabout at Powerline and 730 is in the schedule?
Yeah, I can give you kind of high level answers now and we can drill down and bring that to you at another time as well. So our intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with ODOT says that the roundabout will be installed no later than December 31st, 2030. And so that's the back end, needs to be completed in 5 3/4 years. We've already started those kickoff meetings with ODOT for initial design. Before that design can really start, they need to do trip data. So they will, you'll see those strips across, what is that, northbound, I guess, power line right before you get to Highway 730. Will show up end of April, early May, is that what we talked about on that last meeting. And so prior to school getting out, we need to make sure that we have those trip counts, because one of the things that was tough with that analysis, with their transportation impact analysis, was, is it a net zero 1-to-1 when are you trading new trips to that school, but reducing trips that are going to either the middle school or the elementary school, depending on what grade they're in. And so we just don't know for sure. And so we will put that out, and then that'll be the initial base for that design. And then when the school starts and we have trips in the fall at the new school, you'll see that show up again, so that we can have our base post stimulus data, and then our pre-date trips, and then our post trips. So this year is really collecting data and creating an initial design, high level concept. There will also be discussions with some of the nearby neighbors just to see what there are 2 neighbors on the east and west side of Powerline. One's owned by the Boardman Clinic, and the other, we know him. We may need to grab some small radius area there for right-of-way procurement. But we own everything to the north side. So there'll be some discussions that come along with that as conceptual design starts in its infancy.
Thank you. Just a follow-up comment that I've noticed on that road, that we're developing a little bit of bad behavior with people being queued up to turn left and people passing on the right to turn right. And I wonder if there's any ability in the shorter term to take a look at that and maybe, paint lines or do something to direct people to a little bit. You can't change bad behavior, but maybe you can direct good behavior.
Yeah, so our IGA identifies that specific issue. So the TIA, the Transportation Impact Analysis, identifies the intersection as a failure. And what the IGA created as an interim solution until the roundabout is installed is a temporary 3 to 5 year installation of restriping, small temporary improvements that don't necessarily have to be built, for a 10 or 20 year road base. So we're not going down and create just something that will last until we get to 2030 and rip it all out, put up with the roundabout. And so we will be able to move to that kind of next step according to the IGA, but it doesn't identify that until after we collect that data this fall.
Thank you for the last few.
Councilmember Miller.
I want to thank everyone for showing up, and Josiah and Susie, great presentations. I'm glad to see that kind of community engagement and stuff like that. It's really cool to see. And for everybody else that showed up, thank you, and appreciate your time coming up and speaking. I'll do my best to look into some of those questions and stuff. So anyhow, thank you, Jensen, industry or whatever. Strategies, yeah, not industry, yeah, but thanks for your time and stuff. Sorry, I'm a little slow, you know, I think it's not a big deal. But anyway, thanks everybody. I appreciate your time and have a good evening.
I just will reiterate what's been said, but thank you, Josiah, for your great presentation. Thank you for everyone who came and we're excited for Sadie to join us. And thank you to Jensen Strategies. Thank you, ladies, for presenting. That's a lot of work. So thank you very much for spending your evening with us. Excited for all the things the library is doing. Thank you for your presentation. We're excited. And so, yeah. Thank you for everyone.
Then next we got Councilmember Keating.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, especially to the library. They've been doing so much in our community, and I just appreciate everything that they've been doing for our community. I think books are so overrated, or not overrated, sorry, overlooked. I work in a library. So I meant overlooked.
No worries, Katie. I'll correct that in the minutes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Oh, Nancy, you always got my back. See, apparently stuff doesn't fall too far from the tree coming from my brother and myself, you know, but so we are human. Believe me, we're so human. But I just appreciate you all, and I appreciate everybody being patient that I haven't been in person. I will be back soon, I promise. I originally was going to be there tonight, but then the babysitter fell through, so I'm working on it. So but I appreciate you all, and I have a great night.
Thank you. One thing I wanted to touch on too real quick before we exited. Ms. Pratt mentioned doing a town hall. I know that Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, our city charter really specifies that we have one meeting a month, correct, as a council?
Just that you have a minimum of one meeting a month. You certainly can have more.
Could be quarterly or semi-annually or whatever we choose. Council's decision, but we do a more frequent town halls or second meeting where people can come in, discuss more openly what their concerns, complaints are, and if people don't show up, we'll get turned to a regular, you know, as if things change in time, can we move it back to a second council meeting, or can we, you know, is that something that's possible?
Yeah, it's definitely up to you, mayor and council, how often, how frequently, and under what circumstances you'd like to meet. It's I would say town halls are usually topic-based, more similar to you can have them sort of open-ended like that, where people just have things in general they want to come and talk about, and you can keep them less formal. One of the things that gets difficult, again, with a town hall, if you're just kind of everyone's here and there and you're having multiple conversations, that makes it impossible for Nancy to do her job. And so one of the things that we need to do is there has to be some sort of structure to however we set that up, but that's you know, that's just logistic. We can figure that kind of stuff out.
I think not.
Yeah, but yeah, you certainly can. And tonight we once upon a time, not that long ago, even while I was first starting here, the second meetings of the month were simply work sessions only. There was no action items. It was only discussion items. But it got to the point where we had too many action items for what was happening is we were running out of time on our first meeting, and then we had all kinds of time in the second one. So we've adjusted to having two standard meetings. Some city councils, for example, have had like the third month, they'll have an extra meeting in the third month or something, just like what you talked about there. Here we move forward. In this case, we have some town halls on Rock the Lock, so that's a topic specific type item. You really can do it however you'd like.
That answer your question.
Thanks for considering it.
Definitely to look at, especially as we're updating council rules, because that's something we could add is a, after discussion on the council, we could say, hey, this quarter, we don't really have any important topics. We're not hearing a consistent consensus from the community about discussion comments or public comments. But I think in recent months, we've definitely had a consensus about topics. So maybe we can break them up and say, hey, let's have a town hall about our comments.
Or maybe break it out, because sometimes our workshops that we do have a lot of stuff, so it's almost like we can do like every other one, or,
Yeah,
you know,
or every
it's-
quarter.
yeah.
It's 4 times a year. We have,
Yeah.
every 3 months, we have a
Mhm.
town hall, where we take a topic as a council.
Yep.
Go from there.
Umatilla Voices and Visions.
Wow. Did you just come up with that, or did you AI it?
I should have.
Good, all right. We're looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
May I like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Can I get a second motion, please?
I'll second the motion.
You won that one. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You guys have it. Good job, everyone. Thank you for being here.
I'm sorry, Nancy, it sounded.
Well, because we're
You come up with that.